How are you? Are you watching tomorrow? If you see me talking to people or commenting, it's because obviously this is alive and people will be commenting throughout the story. But yeah, it's the Despicable Suzanne Kappa story. I'm just waiting for people to join in, and we'll be getting ready to start. We do start at 8 o'clock, and it is 8 o'clock. So what are these people? They shouldn't be too much longer though. While I'm waiting, I may just hey lovely. I'm just there we go. Thought I'd just brighten it up again. How you doing? Hi mum. How are you? Oh, you're my first two tonight. My first two. Look at that. How are we? I'm just, you know, you're going to have to ignore Mitzi as well. She's in here with me. Hey, Kelly. How you doing? It's Thursday. It's Jess Rose Day. Woohoo! Woohoo! I shouldn't be so happy given the story I'm about to do, should I? Hope you've all had a good week. Hi, Phil. Happy for Jess Rose Day. How you doing? Okay, let's having a bit of a... Have we all had a good week? I hope we have. After last week's story, I hope you've got over it, because I'm about to hit you with another one now. As you've seen in the title, it's the Despicable Suzanne Kappa story. I haven't got a cough. Well, it's a slight cough, but it shouldn't affect it. Right, this one, there's a lot of names in this one, so if you can follow along, but I will keep recapping the names. It's yeah, it can get a little bit confusing, so I've tried to lay it out as literally as best as I can. Oh, thank you, sis. Thank you very much. I just washed my hair, but it's going to be all, yeah, look at me getting all flaccid. If you're looking tomorrow, I've just been told, or if you're watching tomorrow, should I say, I've just been told I look gorgeous. So thank you very much. Well, she says, it's all going to be like this by the end. And look at this. But anyway, right, okay, shall we start? Are we ready? It's got to be gone 8 o'clock now, hasn't it? Right, like I say, I'll keep recapping the names for you, because it's going to get a little bit confusing as we're going along. Oh, Kelly, that's very nice. You are all very nice to me. You don't half cheer me up on a Thursday night, I tell you. I'm about to devastate you all now. I'm sorry, but that's what we're all here for. Okay, we're going back with this one. Was it last week we went quite far back as well? So we're going to go back to 1992. Don't know if you know the story. There has been a couple of other creators that have done it. I have seen that, but you're joining me tonight, so I'm going to tell you my take on it. Okay, so let's begin. The Despicable Suzanne Kappa story. You're about to see why I'm calling it despicable now. So, okay. It is a when friends turn kind of in that bracket. Now, what I've seen about Suzanne, I haven't seen anything to say that she had any sort of special needs or she had learning difficulties or anything else. I haven't seen anything to say that. At the same time, it's very similar to Jennifer Doherty's story. That's the only warning I'm about to give you all. So there we go. Don't say you haven't been warned. All right. Okay, so Suzanne Jane Jones was born on the 1st of September 1976 in Greater Manchester. It's a UK story. Her mum was called Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth actually broke up with Suzanne's dad before Suzanne even... I don't know if it was before she was actually even born or just after she was born, but they broke up. So Suzanne never had a relationship with her biological dad. But her mum, Elizabeth, went on to marry a man called John Kappa, hence the Suzanne Kappa story. So she had an older sister called Michelle, and as she was growing up, it was said that Suzanne was just a very sweet, kind girl, quite easily led. You know, it's been said about her, would do anything for her friends, do anything to keep a friend, that kind of, that kind of way. She was doing okay, though, very close with her sister. Seemed okay with her mum. You'll see why I'm questioning that in a second. But, yeah, very close with her stepdad, John. So when Suzanne, so we're going to move up now to when Suzanne was 14. Now, I don't know if this was a pivotal thing in the story or it would have happened anyway. But when she was 14, her mum and John broke up. What I found a bit odd, though, is when John and Elizabeth, so her mum and her stepdad, essentially broke up, Michelle and Suzanne stayed with her stepdad. They stayed with John. And the mum just took off. I say took off because I don't know where she went. She just kind of flips in and out of this story. So I don't want to say anything too negative, but it's a bit odd. It's a bit of an odd one. But they stayed with their stepdad. And he says that during this time, now once the breakup had happened, Suzanne started to, started to not act up a little bit, but she started to be a bit erratic with her schooling. She wasn't going in as much. She wasn't coming home, for the odd night here, the odd night there. And that wasn't really her thing, but that's where it was heading. She's 14. We've all had them episodes. So I don't think it was a major concern straight off. So, now where are we? Okay, so these were supposed to be her last 2 years at school. As we know, in England, we finished school at 16. So, Jean Powell, okay, now I'm going to start hitting you with some names now, but I will keep going over them. Jean Powell was a lady who was 10 years older than Suzanne, who used to babysit for her and her sister when they were little, from when they were about 5, I think, or something like that. But she was their babysitter. Well, Suzanne, when she turned 14, 15, started hanging around with Jean. Now, Jean at this point was 25, 26 and had 3 kids. So it was a bit of an odd relationship, but, Suzanne said, I'm sorry, the dog's playing up. It's the live. It's not ever going to be, Jean is a female. So Jean is Jean. I'll just put that out there. So Jean is a female. She was obviously the babysitter. Bear with me a second. It happens every live. What would we do without Mitzi? 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Yeah, Mitzi's back. She's at it again. I apologise to you all. Okay, just as we're getting to the names as well. Right, okay. So Jean was now hanging about with Suzanne. Or Suzanne was more hanging about with Jean. She was going to Jean's house. Now, Jean, she lived at 97 Longworthy Road in Greater Manchester. And it was, I've seen pictures of it. It's kind of a 2 up, 2 down type thing. She's there with her 3 kids. And it had become not a great place for the kids, but not a great place for Suzanne either. It just had how would you call that? Not a conveyor belt, but like a flip door of people just in and out, drugs, drink, loud music. That house, it's that house on the road. That's what Jane's house was. But Suzanne, like I say, very easily led. Her sister had moved in there for a little bit. Sorry, Suzanne was stopping over there. Like I say, remember I said she would stay out for the odd night, and John weren't too keen on it, her stepdad. Well, her sister used to go around there as well, Michelle. Michelle's older than Suzanne, but Michelle, she stopped going around there because she was like, I just don't like, what did she call them? She says, her evil new friends. Now, the evil new friends Michelle was talking about, which it's so confusing to me, this is because she was our older sister. She called them Jean's evil new friends, but she still let her sister not only continue going round there, but she was staying over there. Okay, so I'm going to throw some names at you now, right? So we have, I've already told you about Jean Powell. Jean Powell has the 3 kids, and it's her house. In that house is Jean's brother, Clifford Pook. Obviously different surnames, but Clifford Pook. He's younger than Jean, and he was actually going out with Suzanne for a little while. So, brother and sister there. Then we have Glyn Powell. Now, Glyn Powell was actually married to Jean at one point, father of the 3 kids. And although they've broken up, he's a frequent visitor to the house, let's say. And I don't think it was for the kids. I just don't. I just don't. So we have Jean Powell, her brother Clifford, her ex-husband Glyn. Then we move on to Anthony Dudson. Now, Anthony at this point, Suzanne is 16, Anthony's 16 at this time. They're the youngest people in this story. Now, Anthony, he's apparently sleeping with Suzanne. She's no longer with Clifford. Sorry, I told you it was going to get confusing. Please stay with me. She's no longer with Clifford. Apparently, she's sleeping with Anthony. Anthony's always also sleeping with Jean. The kid's 16 years old. But not only that, there's another female in the arena, and that's a lady by the name of Bernadette McNeely. Now, Bernadette was 24, also had 3 kids, and she lived at 91, number 91 on this road, Longworthy Road, so just a few doors down, and made friends with Jane, and now she's a constant fixture at this house as well, with her 3 kids. Did I just say she's got 3? She's got 3 kids too. Okay. Well, Anthony is sleeping with Suzanne. He's sleeping with Jean, and he's sleeping with Bernadette. Okay. He's 16 years old. Okay, don't know how I feel about it all. Okay, so we have Jean. We have Jean, Bernadette, Glyn, Clifford, Anthony, and there's one final one, so there's 6. I haven't mentioned, yes, there's 6, and that's Jeffrey Lee. Okay, and Jeffrey, he is also sleeping with Jean. That can't be right. Yes. Okay, who are we missing? We're missing somebody, because someone was sleeping with Bernadette. Anthony was also sleeping with Bernadette. What did I say before I started this story? What did I say to you all? I've written this down, so God knows how you are following it. I've actually written this down. The be-all and end-all of it, there's Suzanne, this lovely, kind, young, 16-year-old girl who's been dragged in to debauchery, drugs, and everything else into the house. Nothing to say she's touching these drugs, by the way, but into this house that belongs to a woman by the name of Gina, used to be a babysitter, and 5 other people. 4 males, 1 female. Okay? So we're going to leave it at that. That's all I can tell you. And I'll keep bringing their names in, and eventually we'll get there. So, basically, it's just a rotten hole. That's what the house is. It's a hole. And at this point, Bernadette has actually, it is just one big orgy in the house. That's what it's actually what it was said. And can I just remind you all, in this 2 up, 2 down house, there are 6 children as well. Now, these women are only 24 and 26. So these kids have got to be really young. And all this is going on around there. Oh my God, it's just awful. It's really awful. So it was said that, now, Suzanne would have been in her last year at school, so she was 15 turning 16. She didn't even go. Do you want to know why? Because Jean had decided to make her leave school and sent her to work as a cleaner. And when Suzanne would get paid, she'd have to give all her money to Jean, and Jean would give her a £5 out of all the work she'd done all week. It was just awful, absolutely such an awful setup. Obviously, Suzanne's parents weren't aware of it. I don't know about her sister Michelle. I don't know her part in all of this. I don't think she played a massive part, because she, you'll see very soon, goes on and she gets engaged. So I don't think at this time she had much to do with the situation. I think she got herself out of it, which is a shame. She didn't drag Suzanne along with her. It was said that Suzanne was quite strong-minded. I presume when it came to her friends, maybe she just didn't want to. We've heard the same with Jennifer. We've heard the same with Gemma Hayter. You know, once these friends come into play, you know, and they've wanted so long to have friends, they've wanted so long to have this group of friends, that they'll just do anything. Michelle, Suzanne's sister, did say that Suzanne wasn't scared of this group, but she would just do anything for them. So it's not surprising that she did quit school to go to work, to give them money for them to get their drink and their drugs and everything else. Crazy. And this wasn't just kind of weed. It wasn't, you know, your kind of softer drugs, if you like. This was amphetamines. Is amphetamines methamphetamines? Or are they 2 different things? But it was that. Heroin, I think. Crack. It was, you know, it was not a good house. And yes, it was around these 6 kids. So, okay. So Suzanne around this time is starting to, she's starting to get hit by them, be the butt of their jokes, you know, especially because she was sleeping, so it's been said, she was also sleeping with Anthony, the 16-year-old, that the other 2 older women were also sleeping with. So, we get to a point in, it's just before November 92, and they'd give her a hiding. For whatever reason, they'd give her a hiding. They didn't need a reason, these people. And this is what I'm saying about Suzanne's mum. She gets out, she leaves the house, and she goes to her mum's, and she begs her. She's like, can I stay? Now, your daughter turns up, your daughter's 16 years old, she turns up on your doorstep, obviously beaten, and says, look, can I stay the night? I don't know why she didn't go back to her stepdad's. I don't know about that, but it was her mum she went to. Maybe she wanted her mum. Do you know what her mum did? She says, oh, my new boyfriend won't really like that, so no, not tonight, and closes the door. on her 16-year-old beaten up daughter. So at this point, Suzanne, she has no choice. I don't know why she didn't go back to John's. It doesn't say why she didn't go back, but she goes back to Jean's house. Around November 92 now, all this debauchery has been going on for quite a long time. And Anthony, no surprise, you're not going to be surprised by this. He got Lois. I'm not going to laugh because it's genuinely not funny, but he got pubic Lois. And he's wondering where he got them from. He's sleeping with every man and his dog. But because he's sleeping with Suzanne, Bernadette and Jane, they all get them. And of course, it's Suzanne that gets the blame. It's Suzanne who gets the blame for bringing them into the house. And apparently Bernadette, who, bear in mind, this isn't her house. She says, oh, I know who it was. It was Suzanne. It was the bed she was lying on. And Anthony even confided in Jane. He says, I don't think it was Suzanne. I think it was Bernadette, to be honest. That's where he reckons. But let's remember, it was Jean that was also sleeping with. She was sleeping with Jeffrey. We haven't been introduced to Jeffrey yet, but she was sleeping with Jeffrey as well. So Jeffrey was 26. Okay. So they just lose their mind because they're all having to shave and everything else and clear the house and everything else, and they're all thinking, oh, this is Suzanne, dirty cat. They're just delusional, these people. Absolutely delusional. So Suzanne can kind of feel where this is going. She's already been beaten by these people. She's already been bullied for a long time. She can see where this is heading now. So she leaves, and this time she does go back to her dad's. And she just tries to give them a wide berth for now, you know. But on the 7th of December 1992, they turn up to a house. I think it was Jean and Bernadette turn up to her dad's house, her stepdad's house, and they say, come on, there's a lad who really wants to meet you. He really likes you. So, you know, you need to come out with us. And this is what I'm saying about this girl. She believes them. She believes them. And waiting back at the house for her to come back was Glyn. Remember, he's Jean's ex-husband. And Anthony. Anthony's sleeping with all of them. So when, this will remind you a little bit of Jennifer Doherty's story. When Suzanne comes back to the house with them and walks in, Anthony and Glyn are there waiting for her, slam the door closed and jump on her straight away, pin her down on the floor and shave her head, shave her eyebrows. What is it about hair? It's a thing, isn't it? They're just like, let's get rid of the hair. Oh, so sorry. So that's what them two do. And then Glyn decides to put like a bag over her head to start beating her around the head. So apparently he's walking around her, just as he's walking around, just smacking her. She eventually falls to the floor. Glyn and Anthony step back then, and Jean and Bernadette take over, and they just beat this girl. They just beat this girl terrible. It said that there was a 3-foot long wooden board or spoon. Do you remember them back in this would have been the early 90s. Do you remember used to have them on the wall? I vaguely remember them. Wooden spoon, wooden fork. Vaguely, I don't know where I even saw them, but they were beating her with one of them. I mean, they were really high now. So then they put her in the shower and make her shave her nether regions. It was just a humiliation thing. They were just, oh, we had to do it, so now you're having to do it, kind of thing. And for the evening then they're finished, so they lock her in a downstairs cupboard and go to bed. If they go to bed, whatever they do. So the next day, they take Suzanne from the downstairs cupboard and put her upstairs into an upstairs cupboard. I believe this is because of the kids. You know, the kids have obviously come down from downstairs, so they've moved her. And but she was screaming. She was screaming in this cupboard for them to let her out, let her go, please, you know, begging them. And it was upsetting the kids. No. Really. Really. The kids were in the house when it had happened as well. Poor kids. So they come up with the great idea. They don't let her go. Of course they don't want to let her go. But remember, Bernadette has left her house, which was a few doors down, and basically moved into Jean's. So they're like, Bernadette's house is empty. So they drag Suzanne and bring her down to Bernadette's house. And in a back room of the house, there was kind of an old bed that was up against the wall. They upend it, so they don't let her they don't put her on the bed. They put her, the bed's upside down. So if you imagine, I've seen pictures of it, and all the wooden slats are sticking out, all the springs are out of it underneath, and they basically spread eagle her naked to that bed. And I haven't heard in any of this that there was a sexual aspect to this. It was just they wanted her tied up. And it was in a back room of that house, so that's where they decided they wanted to keep Suzanne at this point. And what happened was 5 days of torture from that point. Okay, I'm going to tell you quite briefly what was going on during those 5 days. Now, she's already been kept for 2 at this point. We're going into the 3rd day, I believe now. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Yes, 3rd day. Okay, so she was beaten so badly that they broke one of her arms. She was injected, again, this is why I asked this question, she was injected over and over again with amphetamines. Is that meth? I genuinely don't know. Is it? Because I've heard meth's terrible. But I suppose amphetamines, I don't know. I don't know anything about that drug. So, I genuinely, but she was getting injected with that. She was burnt with cigarettes constantly. This is constantly going on. They're literally leaving Jean's house at any one time and going down and doing it. Joining in on this at this point, there was Clifford Pook, which is obviously Jean's brother, and a man called Jeffrey Lee. He was a known druggie around the area. He was the one sleeping with, I think he was also sleeping with Jean. And he seemed like a bit of a, it's just crazy. So they were just constantly injecting her with this to keep her going. Speed. Oh, that's why it was to keep her awake. Oh God, is that what it was for? Oh, right, okay. So she was burned with cigarettes, one straight between her eyes, all over her body. And then there was another thing they did that they said would have been a real mental torture for her. It was around the time of, do you remember Child's Play, Chucky, the doll? So what they do, they put headphones on her head. Bearing in mind, she's completely tied up, she can't move. They put headphones on her and blast at the, loudest, 10 or whatever it is on the stereo they were using. A song called, a rave song called Hi, I'm Chucky, Wanna Play. It was a rave tune in the background with that intermittently being said over it, over and over and over again. Can you imagine how that'd send you, especially then if you're on and having amphetamines put into it? Oh my God, it just sends you crazy. Now over these few days, they wouldn't let her up to go to the toilet. So of course she's wetting herself and she's going to the toilet on herself, and so by the end she's covered, and they said she smelled. Oh, okay. So they take her out, undo her, take her to the bath. In the bath though, it's not water, it's just pure disinfectant in the bath. Throw her in it, and they scrub her. Them big brooms that you have in your back garden. So we're just scrubbing her with that. Now bearing in mind she had blisters all over her back from the wooden slats and the springs from the beds and everything else that she'd been on for a couple of days. So, and they're scrubbing it, bursting the blisters, they're splitting her skin. I can't even imagine the pain the girl was in at this point. Carried on beating her, they brought her back down, they tied her back up again, continued with what they were doing, and then they decided, right, we can't let her go. We can't, because they'd got word by this point that her family was thinking of going to the police. I'm assuming it was a stepdad. I wouldn't have thought it'd be a mum, but who am I? They were going to go to the police because no one had seen her for a few days, and they all started panicking, like, we can't let her go. Why is that always the result? I just don't understand. So before they decide how they're going to get rid of this 16-year-old girl, who comes up with it? Clifford. Oh, wow. Clifford came up with it, which was obviously Jane's brother, that they need to take her teeth out so that she can't be identified. So he basically goes up, and at this point there's a young lad that's come into the house. Bear with me, we have another name, but it's only briefly that he comes. David Hill, he's 18. He gets invited into the house, and you can hear screaming in the back of the house, and he's like, what's going on? He says to Anthony, what's going on? So he brings him in, and at that point Clifford is leaning over Suzanne where she's lying down, and he says, we're going to have to get your teeth out. And he starts bashing her teeth with pliers, these pliers, trying to loosen them, break them, I don't know. And then he begins pulling her front teeth, and they weren't coming out, but as she lifted up off the bed, she fell back, the tooth came out, and apparently he was laughing his head off. He found the whole thing very funny, as did Bernadette and as did Jean, who was stood there watching it as well. So much so he decided he wanted to take her other one out, does the whole thing again. And at this point then he just he gets a bit impatient about it and just starts cracking her again in her mouth to try and crack all her teeth. This point a nerve endings were showing and everything. Can you imagine that pain? So they all left the house, and that David Hill, that lad, was still in there. And she turned around and she started begging him. She started begging him to let her go, because obviously this isn't one of her, the people that are torturing her. He's not one of her torturers. So she's begging him to let her go. And he just basically says, I can't, I'm too scared. And he leaves. Doesn't tell anyone. Doesn't go to someone who can help her. Just leaves. Also around this time, there's a lad called Paul Barlow. This turns out to be her brother-in-law. He's the one who's now engaged to Michelle, her sister. Do you remember I mentioned at the beginning? and he was outside fixing his car. Like, they all live quite near to each other. Even the stepdad doesn't live too far. They're all around the same area. And Paul's fixing his car, and Anthony and Jeffrey go out to help him to fix his car. Don't tell him. Don't tell him, oh, by the way, we got your sister-in-law tied up. We have done for the best part of a week. And by the way, we're thinking of killing her. Just perfectly normal while they're helping him fix his car. So it was said afterwards that he turned around and he says he'd love to have 10 minutes in a room with them. Because obviously he didn't know what was going on. He thought they were just thought they were idiots from around the area, but he didn't think they were sadistic, vindictive, malicious. He didn't think that of them. Okay. So like I say, Suzanne's family was going to report her as a missing person. So now they decide she's got to be got rid of. So we come up to the 14th of December, 92. So this is a week now. A week this girl's been beaten. She's been burnt. She had her teeth pulled out. She's been scrubbed with disinfectant. She's been tied up. Just the worst amount of torture. Plus the earphones. Plus being pumped with drugs all the time. You know, constantly. It was said all the time she was getting pumped with these drugs. So, the 14th of December 1992, we go to the early hours now. And they went out and stole a Fiat Panda. I don't even know if we've still got them anymore, but a Fiat Panda. They drag her out and throw her in the boot. Just to let you know, this is about to get worse. So, just giving you a heads up. They throw her in the boot and they drive about 15 miles away to the outskirts of Stockport. And it's a wooded area. Where else would it be? They drive down, you know, a country road. And, sorry, missed out who's in the car. Okay. In the car is Jean, which is Glyn Powell, her ex-husband, Bernadette, the neighbour, and Anthony, who Bernadette was obviously sleeping with as well. Yes, who she was sleeping with as well. So those four are in the car. Suzanne's in the boot. And back at the house was Jeffrey, with the down and out that just seemed to be loitering around, and Clifford, which is Jane's brother. They're back at the house, okay? So they're driving along and apparently they're laughing. They're having a great crack driving this car and getting to, 15 miles away, getting to the outskirts of Stockport and stuff. When they get there, they drag her out of the boot and they basically throw her down an embankment until she comes to a stop in these kind of not bushes, like a prickly, what's the word now I'm thinking of, like a bushel with all the prickly, like you'd need ivy to, they say put ivy on it, the stingers, she lands in these stingers and she gets all tied up in them. At this point, she's got no shoes on or anything else. The poor girl's been, oh my God. They trundle down, they walk down, bear in mind, no one's threw them down this embankment. So when they get to her, thistle, thank you, thistle. She goes into a thistle bush. So she's all stung and everything else. Bernadette approaches Suzanne, who's lying down on the floor. She's so badly, she's in such a bad way. And she decides to pour a load of petrol over her. And Bernadette is now trying to, brambles and thorns, yes, thank you all. Bernadette is trying to light Suzanne on fire, and it was said that Suzanne was just looking at her, looking her straight in her face, like, are you going to do this to me? She can't move, she can't fight, she can't do anything. But she just, you can imagine she just couldn't have believed these are her friends. Again, let's point out, these are her friends. These haven't just came across her on the road and thought, yeah, let's drag her in. Jane used to babysit for her when she was 5 years old. She's known her more than half her life. So Bernadette's trying to set fire to Suzanne. And for whatever reason, it's not working. So then Glyn tries. Then Anthony tries. Apparently Jean was in the car. I don't know if she was in the car. It was said she may have been in the car. But the three of them are now trying. This is how thick they are. But all the three of them around trying to set this poor 16-year-old child on fire. And eventually it was said that Anthony managed to light the flames. And while it was going on, you might think maybe they were shocked when it happened. Maybe they were like, oh my God, we've gone too far. No. Do you want to know what Bernadette was doing? She was singing Disco Inferno. Do you remember the song Burn, Baby? That's what she was singing. While this girl's on fire in front of them. She's being burned alive. Said she was screaming, of course she was, and everything else. And they thought, oh, she's going to die. So they just walked back up the hill, got in the car, and left her. Just left her there to die. But on their way home, they think, oh, you know what, we need to celebrate. So they pull in, they get themselves some alcohol on the way back. And to celebrate when they get back. And then when they do get back, Jeffrey and Clifford are there. What happened then? Tell us all about it. Waiting to hear all the details. What is wrong? What is wrong with the world? But Suzanne didn't die. She didn't, not straight away. She didn't die. I'm not going to do that to you. She didn't die at this time. She, as soon as they'd gone, she crawled herself. I presume she put herself out. Or I don't know the details of that. But it says she crawled herself back up the hill, out of the brambles, up the hill, and onto that road. And it said that she staggered along the road for a quarter of a mile. And at 6:10 so 6:10 a.m. of the 14th of December, a man called Barry Sutcliffe and two of his work colleagues were driving along that road and just seen this girl who was just not ash, but like black from head to toe, walking towards them. She got no hair. They shaved it off, remember? But they, there she was staggering towards them. Once they realised, this is a young girl, they grab her and they go to the nearest house. And it's a couple by the name of Michael and Margaret Coops. It's their home. And Barry's banging on the door. You need to call an ambulance. And Michael said when he opened his front door and just seen this girl in front of him, he said you didn't need to be a rocket scientist of what had just happened, what had been done to her. But he said it was just, her legs looked like raw meat. Her hands were just ash. Her feet just... his wife, Margaret, came over to her and instinctively went to put her arms round her and kind of... Suzanne leant back because she couldn't be touched. She couldn't... of course she can't. She was in too much pain. But it was said that even then, even at that point, it was said that Suzanne was so polite and she just kept on thanking them. And she asked, could she have some water? And it was said that she drank like 6 pints of water straight off. She, during this time, when she'd been held captive by these monsters, she hadn't been fed. They hadn't really been giving her any liquids. So she drank these straight off. And was just very polite. That's what they remembered about her. She was just so sweet. When the ambulance come, of course, they take her straight to the hospital. And while she's there, she names all 6 of them and gives the address of where she was held captive. And it's like, oh, Suzanne. And it was very, very, very soon after that she went into a coma. So I just thought, why? Now thinking of those amphetamines that they were giving her, maybe that was their undoing, because I wonder if it was that kept her going just that bit longer. I don't know. But her family were notified, and when her mum and her stepdad turned up to the hospital, they didn't even recognise her. They couldn't give a clear idea of this girl in front of them that was in a coma. They couldn't say for definite that was Suzanne. That's how badly burned. It was said that her face was practically featureless. So the only way they could ID her was there was one very small part of her thumb that hadn't been burnt. So they got her ID from that fingerprint. So, just such a shame. Now, on the 17th of December, Suzanne's in a coma, but she's given the name, she's given the address, and the police go straight round and they pull them all in, all of them, all 6. And at first, they bring them in and they charge them with kidnapping. But on the 18th of December 1992, Suzanne finally succumbed to her injuries 4 days later, and she died of multiple organ dysfunction syndrome caused by her burns. Obviously, she was malnourished. She had nothing to fight. She couldn't fight the burns. She couldn't. So, yeah, Suzanne passed then, but not before she gave all those names and the address. So they had them all arrested at that point under the charge of kidnapping. So, of course, when she passed the next day, straight away they go in and charge them all with murder. Kidnapping, murder, they throw the book at all 6 of them. But they're all at this point denying anything. Don't know what you're on about. Nothing to do with me. Apparently, when they were arresting Jean and Bernadette, they were giggling. They were giggling as the handcuffs were being put on. So they're waiting for one of them to turn. And do you want to know who was the one to turn? I was surprised when I heard who turned. It was actually Anthony. Anthony was the one who turned, and it was his dad. And don't forget, he's very young. He's a very young lad. He was only 16, 17 at the time. And even though he was sleeping with all the women and he was behind the beatings and the end burning alive of Suzanne, he was the youngest, and he had the bottle. Is it? I don't want to give him anything, but he was the one who owned up. But it wouldn't even be bottle, would it? He's saving his own skin. I don't know what I'm talking about. So and it was said that as he was telling the police everything that had gone on for the whole week, so don't forget, the police didn't know this had been going on for 7 days. As he's giving them all the information, the police were actually in tears, and because they were arrested the day before, what the police, Suzanne had passed, but the police felt so bad when they found out what had been done. They did a collection in the Manchester police station to get her some flowers for her burial. It really, really affected them at what had happened to this young girl. And like I say, yeah, they'd all blamed each other. And once Anthony broke, then they're all like, yeah, it was you, yeah, it was you. They're not so brave once they're caught, are they? Where's all your, where's all your laughing and giggling now, girls? Okay. So they'd gone from kidnapping to be charged with murder. They were remanded from December 1992, obviously, but the trial didn't start to December 1993. And I think the reason that it wasn't heard about as much as you would imagine was, if you remember, if you do, I'm not too sure if you would, but if you around that time, in, where was it now? Did it happen? It was Liverpool, wasn't it? Wasn't it Liverpool? Where Jamie Bulger was murdered by John Venables and Robert Thompson. That had happened in February 92. So this was December 92. And then their trial happened. The boys' trial happened. So it overshadowed what had happened with Suzanne. You know, so that could be why I certainly hadn't heard of this story, and I think it went under the radar a little bit, given how huge what had happened to Jamie Bulger and everything was at the time. So the trial was in December of 93. Okay. So now we have Jean Powell. What I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you the results. I'm going to tell you their sentence. Now, if you look on any of the sites or anything else, you'll see that they got 20 years for kidnapping and 20 years for this and 20 years for this and 20 years for this. And I was like, it's unusual in Britain. But they did get that kind of time. But it's concurrent. It's not consecutive. So concurrent, it all runs at the same time. What is the point in concurrent? I don't get it. I don't get the concurrent law. I don't get it. So what I'll do is I'll just tell you exactly what they would do without breaking down of what that is, because it means nothing. Okay, so Jean Powell was found guilty. She received life, 25 years. Bernadette McNeely, guilty, life, 22 years. Glyn Powell, guilty, life, 25 years. Anthony Dudson, guilty, indefinitely, I think it's because of his age, 16 years. Jeffrey Lee, guilty, 12 years. And Clifford Pook, guilty, 15 years. Okay? So that was the time they were given. Right? Nothing for what they did. You're about to get quite annoyed now. It is the British justice system. Let's not forget it. So we have Jeffrey Lee, who took part in beating her. He wasn't there when they drove off with her, admittedly, but he took a lot. He was involved in a lot of the beatings. He was freed in 1998. He did 5 years. Clifford Pook, Jean's brother, pulled her teeth out. Remember? Beat her. Involved in everything. He was freed in 2001. He did 8 years. Anthony, let me get you his surname. Where are you, Anthony? Anthony Dudson, 16 he was. He was freed in 2013. He actually did 20 years. He did. Bernadette McNeely, she was a model prisoner. She was a model prisoner. A model prisoner who started off knocking off one of the prison guards as soon as she got in there. She was freed in 2015. She'd done 22 years. Jean Powell, the cause of all of it, the one who'd known Suzanne the longest, who Suzanne probably trusted more than anybody. Oh, her in the trial was like, I don't like violence. I don't even slap my kids. I didn't want any part of it. I stayed in the car when they set fire to her. I didn't have any part of any of it. I just wanted to look after my kids. Yeah, her. She was freed in 2017 after 24 years. And Glyn Powell, Jane's ex-husband, he was most recently freed in 2023 after 30 years. I'm not counting their time in remand. I'm just counting from the trial. So after all that, after that entire story, all of them are now released. All of them. All 6. And now out and walking. How depressing is that? To know that they're all out after everything they did to her. When you know if that was in America, for the most part, I'd say, I don't think they'd have been out. I think for a chat, to be honest, I think a couple of them possibly would have got the death penalty, depending on what state they were in. And they're all out, all of them. So all these got 20 years for the kidnapping and 25 for the murder, and they got 20 years for the... No, they didn't. That's not what they got. It was concurrent. What is it, to tick a box? I don't understand why they do it. Just give you the time. It was said that during the trial as well, quite a few of the jury were in tears. And when the sentence was read out, there was some shouting from the gallery, from Suzanne's family, shouting of yes, and, you know, shouting names, you know, bad names out to them, you know, bastard, that kind of way. Yeah, it's just crazy. Sorry, someone's just put up on there. Yes, she was. You are right. Bernadette McNeely, while I did miss out about the model prisoner who'd been knocking off a guard, she was actually very good friends with Rose West. Rose West, wasn't it? So I heard. Rose West. No, not Moira Hindley. I heard it was Rose West. She was very good friends with. Oh, they're all in the same. They're all in the same thing, aren't they? They're all in there. They're all in the same. Just despicable boat. And what was it? What else did I want to say then? What else? There was another bit I wanted to say to you. Oh, what did I can't remember. Yes, Mates Rose Mesto. What was... They were saying it was like the Moors murder. I can't remember now. It was just something about... It wasn't about the story. It was just one of my own comments. But yeah, they're all in there. They're all just disgusting. Oh, that was it. Sorry, to come back to me. They were all given a psychological assessment. All of them were. And it was said that every single one of them was perfectly sane. No kind of behavioural problems, no learning difficulties, no insanity. Perfectly sane. Perfectly sane. Nothing. And then I read that it was saying that it was down to the poverty within Manchester at the time, and there was a quote that was put out basically saying because there was an up and coming part of Manchester that millions was being thrown at, and then you had obviously people living below the poverty line just down the road. It was saying you could sit drinking a cappuccino at the canal and watch dead bodies go by. It was just the analogy, but it was just saying that that's how different that city was at that time. So I'm not too sure what Manchester, I haven't been to Manchester in a very, very long time. I think it was pack mentality. It was, I think it was the fact they kept her awake as well. It was, and then decided, yeah, we're going to, it's just vile. It's just an absolutely vile situation, vile story. I hope I didn't confuse you all too much trying to get all the names right. I hope I didn't. How are you all now? I hope I haven't just devastated your night too badly. Just awful, isn't it? Let me just have a look at the comments without getting my big finger in the way. Where's the camera? Why do I get my finger there? How do I not get my finger in the camera? Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Let's have a look. If you're watching tomorrow, I'm just having a look at the comments. Oh, okay. Do you remember it? See, I Granada. Oh my God, I remember Granada. Yeah, I don't remember it. And life should mean life. I think British prisons are even worse than they used to be honest. Prison camps is an exact term that should be used. They're no good compared to what. And there isn't, I suppose you're right, I suppose there is no punishment that can be given for what she went through. Thank you, Phil. Thank you very much. And thanks, sis. Yes, as Phil's just put, after the video ends, if you pull a like, I really appreciate it. After the video ends and it gets published up to my channel, if you could go back in and just pop a like in there, I'd really appreciate it. If you're watching tomorrow, if you could put a like as well. And just to, if there's anyone here who's not aware of what we do at this time of the evening, what you're about to see in about 3 seconds, you're going to start to see a comment coming up from Tiffany Giles, basically saying, no, please don't do it. Oh, are you from Mustang? Oh, well, do you know? Oh, so you were quite nearby. Curious Mind. Couldn't you, Curious Mind? I don't know your name, but yeah. Oh, wow. So it was around your area. Right. Hayley's mentioned it as well. There it is. There's that no that I just mentioned that's going to happen. Phil knows it as well. The jingle, Hayley knows. Kelly will know what's coming. So I want to thank you all for joining me again this evening. Yous are all great. Yous are, Tiffany, you can't tell Phil no. Phil knows it's just rosed out and he knows what happens at the end of this, as does Kelly, as does Hayley, as does everyone who watches. They know what's about to happen. So if you're all ready, okay, let me get ready. Just to end her on a bit of a lighter note. Okay, let's fix that. We've got to get it right. Yes, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Are we ready? Okay. So if you're watching this tomorrow, or if you're even watching it, if you're watching it tomorrow, or even if you are watching it now, I'm going to stop that. I'm messing up my jingle. Okay. Can you like, comment and subscribe? Please. Oh, I've got to stop it. I have to. Do you know, I watch this back. I do watch it back afterwards because when I upload it, I have to listen to this all over again just to make sure I haven't really messed anything up too badly. And I get to the end and I'm just like, oh, Jessica, oh, what are you doing? But it's, I thought I did practice like a bit lower, like comments, but now I'm doing it, the stupid arms are coming up again. So yes, so I'm getting all hot. And bothered and everything. So like, comment, subscribe, please. What's this though? What's this here? I'm sorry, sis. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She's never going to admit she's related to me again. We have got different surnames on here because she's married and she's never going to admit that she's related to me again. But yeah, I mean, what is that? But that's, I should do that as my thumbnail, should not. Just me there like that. Do you reckon anyone would watch? I don't think. I've got to stop. And the worst thing is they haven't fixed my. Do you want me to show you why I keep mentioning about my arm? I don't know if you're going to be able to see on here, but can you see? Let me see if I can get it at a proper angle. You're going to see that bone there? I don't know what it is, but it's really painful. It's really, and it's hard. So when I'm doing this, it really hurts afterwards, but it's automatic. I just can't help it. So please like, comment and subscribe. And thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this evening. I'm going to be back with you Thursday, 8 o'clock next week. I can't help laughing. My face is sore. My face is actually sore. I'm going to, do you know why I'm laughing? Because I know I'm going to watch this back. Oh, it's just so bad. But yeah, stop it. We're going to say she's bad. I am special, and the bus is waiting for me, so I do need to leave. I do need to go to bed. It's been a long week. It has been a long week this week. I don't know about you. Were you getting snow where you are? Because apparently we're supposed to be getting snow, which I'm very excited about. But it's just so cold. I think it's too cold to snow. So, yes, Curious Mind, thank you so much, and you take care too. Have a lovely evening, everyone. I just bypassed that conversation completely then. It's my eyes get taken by the comments. But yeah, if you're out in the snow, have fun. Oh, thank you, Phil. I'll take that. Oh, like, comment, subscribe. Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to go. And I will see you all next week at 8 o'clock next Thursday. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much again. Take care.